Welcome to the Steve Setka Show, your uncensored champion. I'm your host, Steve Setka, and I'm diving deep into the things that matter most to me: sport, freight, and faith. On the show, we're not afraid to go beyond the surface. We get real, share bold opinions, and hit you where it may be uncomfortable. These are the topics I'm passionate about, and I bet they'll spark something in you too. So buckle up for quick, high-impact episodes that'll shake you up.
To the Steve Setka Show. We're rolling episode 25, quarter century of episodes. This is fantastic. The goal is one a week, fresh new episode. And as per usual, we start every podcast episode with a verse before we even introduce the guest to frame it. It's so perfect today for who we're going to talk to and what we're going to talk to. And the verse that we got is Isaiah 41:10, which reads, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand." This is a fitting verse for me, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But this is a fitting verse for the man we're going to talk to today. Chris, how are you?
I'm awesome, man. I'm geeked out about this. Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. Chris Errington, tell us a little bit about who you are, how we connected, and just your mission in life in general.
Oh, geez. I'm Chris. I'm a dude. I love my pond and softball way too much. Married, almost 25 years. 3 kids. I've got 2 girls, 22 and 20. And then my son is 16. So we're a busy family. But my wife and I are getting close to being us again. So that's kind of who I am in a nutshell.
That's incredible, man. I love how you mentioned how, the first things you talked about was, we talked a little bit about faith before the show. You talked about your family, you talked about your wife, because there's priorities, right, in life. And you haven't even told us yet what you do, which is great, because I made this LinkedIn post, Chris, about 3 or 4 days ago. It said, my priorities in my life, it's God, it's wife, it's family, and then it's business, right? And they all build up to support each other. Right. So you didn't even necessarily mention your career, whatnot, because it's not as important as the other ones, right? You're a family man, you're a dude, you're a husband, you're a God-fearing individual. Everything you do is serve the Lord. With that being said, Chris, when I read that verse, Isaiah 41:10, that was your suggestion. Like, what comes to mind? What made you think of that verse and made you feel that today?
I think because I'm a dad and I'm a husband, I'm a dude. I just feel like it's like me and God, like, let's go, like we can tackle anything. I'm a protector, I'm a provider, and it's that reminder that I don't have to do it by myself. I don't have to have all the answers, but it's like, if God's with me, who could possibly be against me?
I think about that all the time. I love that. So it's fitting that we talk about these things today, because it's a 3-pack on the show, Chris. We talk about 3 things: freight, faith, and sport. And you and I got all 3 of those things in common. We're God-fearing individuals. First and foremost, we both work in the freight industry. We both work in building up men and men's teams and men's organizations through our faith specifically. And we're also both involved in sport. And it's very fitting today that, we talk about things like this, because I was late getting on the show because I was flustered. I had some tech issues, some significant tech issues. And I was challenged by my CRM, by booking some loads. I had a crazy end to the day. I just had a crazy day in general. But you referenced that verse, Isaiah 41:10. I looked at it. I went on ChatGPT, and it was like, this was exactly what I needed at this moment. And that is not a coincidence. I say this all the time on the show and in my life. God does not create coincidence for you. He puts people in relationship with each other exactly when they need it. And that's exactly what I needed to hear today. So you have challenging days, I'm sure. You have good days, you have bad days, you have, in freight and transport. Tell us a little bit about just your journey in faith and freight with the career that you've built so far in your business.
That's a lot to unpackage. Faith came early, and I don't know that I was very good at it. I look at my walk with God as just like we talk when we first met. We're just 2 guys. I talk to God like I'm talking to a friend. I am not a real churchy guy. In fact, I don't have a great relationship with the church, mostly because some of the things that the church is about isn't really my thing. I think your relationship with God is more than, do you set up chairs, or do you, bring potato salad, or do you raise the most money in the bake sale, or even if you're there? I mean, my son plays travel baseball, so Sundays are, when you're playing in the tournament finals. So you're kind of hoping that you're not at church that day. So, but my career is kind of like that too, where I just go where it leads me. I wasn't even planning on going into sales as a career. Was planning on playing college basketball and going on and playing pro, but wrecked my knee and realized I needed to do something. So got into door-to-door sales. And I think I told you this story when we first met, but yeah, had merched out, and I was going, I was waiting for somebody to bring me more stuff to sell, and went into a dollar store or some sort of dollar store and found these little, you remember pocketbooks, like you used to write people's like phone numbers and things in them, like like a little black book or whatever.
Like
And this was
last century?
yeah, like last century. Yeah, like I'm that old. So, it was these little pocketbooks on a keychain. I'm like, that is the coolest little thing. I bought 25 of them and sold them all for $5 each, and realized that I was never going to go hungry. So realized real early that I was good at sales and building relationships, rapport, value. And that's translated into so many different avenues or verticals. So, I've sold, goodness, I started selling fitness memberships, and then hot tubs and fitness equipment, and then industrial automation and residential HVAC. And it's always been about people. Ended up getting into the freight world through a random pairing on a golf course. Met a guy, and he's like, you should do this. You know a lot of people, and we can turn that into revenue for you, freight opportunities. And I'm like, okay, sounds fun. And then so from that point forward, I've really just leaned on relationships, leaned on rapport, leaned on who I am. My reputation typically precedes me because I'm a character guy. I tell everybody, you will be able to take advantage of me once, because we start at 100% trust level, and then where we go from there is really up to you. So I assume the best out of everybody. And I don't know how I don't know if that answers your question, but faith and freight, that's I guess that's how we got here. I
Yeah, I
reached
love
out
it.
to you.
Yeah.
You're in the freight world, and I like connecting with new people and meeting new people. And I connect with tons of people who don't ever reach out or don't ever communicate. And you did. And we had an awesome conversation on the phone when we first chatted.
It was great. I
Like
remember
we
that.
were long lost brothers. Like we'd known each other for 20 years. But I think when you find your people, it sticks. And it's easy, especially with some of the branding stuff that I've been working on recently and putting your story out there. It's easy to find the people who vibe with you, because they've, I guess, consumed your content and see what you're putting out there and go, yeah, that's a guy I could chat with. So it probably makes it a little easier when you find your people. So.
That's awesome. Finding your tribe. I mean, that's exactly how we found each other, for sure. I mean, and I said, on LinkedIn, I mean, we connected on LinkedIn. It was random. You connect with anyone. And I said, hey, how do we get in contact? Did I add you? Did you add me? And you're like, yeah, no, I reached out, and you engaged in conversation. And you're right. It doesn't happen regularly. I don't find, when you do send, random emails or something on LinkedIn, or you send a message to someone and you connect with them. But I do the same. I build my brand on LinkedIn. I build this show on LinkedIn, more or less, some Instagram as well. And when you have a medium like that, and you can build a relationship with someone a world apart based on a couple things, like our transport businesses that we work in, and like, the faith that we have, for sure. It's quite a beautiful thing. Let's dive into that. But I wanted to touch on a couple things that you said. You said, talking to God for you is like talking to a friend. I do the same. People think I'm crazy because when I pray, it's like I'm having a conversation with one of my brothers, or I'm talking with the brotherhood, or I'm being goofy, right? When I pray and I talk about gratitude, we say grace before every dinner, and we just go through our wins and we collect them, throughout the day. Hey, this is what happened, this what happened, this what happened. And we're grateful for even all the bullshit that we went through as well throughout the day, because that's tests, right? And that's hardship that we are appreciative of. So I agree with you. Talking to God is like talking to your brother. I don't love church per se necessarily either. I go and I'm a regular attendee, but church to me is more a idea, rather than this is where we go, this is our offering, this is what we listen to, etc. Because you're right, a lot of things that have come out of church in Christianity have been manipulated by humans, which we all understand, right? There's so many denominations of Christianity. We don't necessarily need to go into that. So it's fascinating how faith can be a part of freight and how it doesn't necessarily have to be what the world tells you it is from, your past experience, which is interesting. Sales, you're never going to go hungry. You met someone on the golf course, you can sell anything, and you're always going to have a job. And that's exactly how we went here. But let's dive in a little bit deeper on this relationship, because you and I connected on LinkedIn, and you have an interesting brand. You manage freight, you do freight, you have a business in that, but you also work in branding men and building good quality characters. And I would argue that that's a godly thing to do, for sure. So you have this influential website where you help men build up their brand. Tell us about what that is and how you operate in that sphere.
Yeah. So about 4 months ago, I realized that I was in the freight world. I was really focusing on building the companies I was working with, their brands versus my own brand. And that seemed kind of short-sighted. And even the CEO of one of the companies was like, you need to build the Chris Errington brand. And I'm like, ooh, hey, okay. You don't have to ask me twice. So I started looking for branding opportunities, companies that could help me, kind of fast track this. And it was really frustrating. Companies, wanting to use like, here, pick your template, give us a logo, pick colors. It was all very cookie cutter. And I didn't like that. That's not really what I was looking for. And it was expensive, $5,000 to $30,000. Again, little God incidences along the way. A friend of mine sends me a text and says, hey, can you look at something for me? I'm like, absolutely. And it was him building a branding company for the auto industry. And I was like, man, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Can you do this for me? And so we went down the path, and I loved it so much. I loved everything about it because it's about being your real and authentic self and really extracting who you are and what your stories are. And it led to us actually working together on the project. So it's influence.vin is the website where you can have a look at it. But essentially what it is helping high performing men tell their stories without selling their soul. It's real, it's authentic, nothing is fake, nothing, we're not, exaggerating the truth on anything. It's your real stories. Because again, like we talked about, people buy from people they like, know, and trust. And the challenge is, I mean, you're out west and I'm in Ontario. The odds of us ever meeting outside of online is, probably it's pretty slim unless you happen to come to Toronto for some reason, or I happen to come out to Alberta or Winnipeg.
Winnipeg, yeah.
The which I'm not going to Winnipeg.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, fair. But we can find each other online, and I can read something you write and go, hey man, that resonates. And so now you kind of know who I am, and if you consume my content, you'll watch it and then you'll meet me and go, yeah, it's exactly the same guy. Like there's nothing fake or forced about it. I'm just being me. And this really gave me the opportunity to just be me, take masks off. I don't need to be anybody else other than who I think I'm meant to be. And I'm by no means perfect. I fall short all the time. I am who I am, and it's been real freeing. And so what we've done is literally just open this up to other guys, and the response has been unbelievable. They're like, finally somebody who thinks like me or talks like me, or I'm allowed to be me, and we just help them build brands that attract what they're looking for. So again, people buy from people they like, trust, and know.
Yeah.
And,
Oh yeah.
if your content shows who you are and tells your story, your people are going to find you.
It comes back to the idea of finding your tribe, right? It's just, there's nobody else in the world who's going to be Chris Errington better than Chris Errington. There's no Steve Setkas out there that are better at being Steve Setka than me. So I think that's fantastic. And building the brand is so important as well too. And I mean, I'll be transparent with everybody out there, with yourself and with all the listeners, that I struggle with that too, because I just wrote a note on my page. I said, am I really being who I am saying I am online? Right. And there's a disconnect with who you are behind a screen or a keyboard and who you are actually showing up. It's one of the main reasons why I do a couple things, why I do this show, right? Because I want to show people who the real Steve Setka is. It's why I make phone calls rather than sitting behind a computer and send emails, because you're putting yourself out there and you got to be a real person in order to build a relationship, which may eventually turn into a transformation and a transaction, right? It's the same reason why I show up to events. I'm going to a friend's networking event tonight. And, there's not a lot of those going on anymore, is because I believe that we're trying to do everything online, AI everything, remove the emotion from relationships, right? Automate everything. I work in freight, you work in freight and transportation. We work on TMSs and load boards and whatnot. And it really seems like you can't even get that connection with individuals anymore. To build relationships is very challenging, right? Which leads to a lot of difficulties and a lot of, safety concerns, I would say, in regards to, trucking, which we've heard of in Florida and Manitoba and all over the continent recently, which is very sad. So I'm about building those relationships as well, too, because I don't think you can AI or automate man-to-man conversation and man-to-man engagement. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's funny on LinkedIn. You see people like, well, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm posting things all the time. And I'm like, yeah, it's not you though. It's it's all AI. Like all of a sudden you just started posting these long, thought-provoking things
I've
with
been
a
guilty
call
of
to
that.
act with a call to action at the, DM for DM sales for my latest, like some sort of call to action. And it's like transaction, transaction, transaction. And I think the future is really transmission versus transaction. I can't say that I've never, put DM for this or whatever, but rarely is it to buy anything. I'm a give, take, give, ask. And again, that transmission versus transaction, I think if you're always asking, you want to buy, do you want to buy, do you want to buy, do you want to buy? It's like, no, this is who I am. Let me throw it out there. Those opportunities will then come to you. I'm not saying that you don't need to make phone calls, and pursue business, but I think social media needs to be more, this is who I am versus buy my stuff, and I think the quicker AI comes in, and it's coming in like a freight train. I posted about that today, actually. It is coming fast. It's coming hard, and it's not going to be like little jobs that are gone. It's going to be big jobs, and people are going to get blindsided by this, which is why I'm talking about it so much.
I think so, too.
What is going to save you is your brand and your ability to be real and authentic, and not 5 years from now. It's, if you all of a sudden start posting real and authentic 5 years from now, they're going to look back and go, well, who were you then? Like, how do I know this isn't AI? Right. Whereas I have a track record. You can go back, however long and go, yep, he's been posting, he's been real, he's been real, he's been real. Yeah, this is my guy, But I think AI is amazing. I'm super excited about all the stuff it can do, but it's frightening though. It's gonna impact a lot of people in a bad way.
It's crazy. It's interesting. I believe what you're saying is fairly accurate. I think there's a few things you're going to have to learn: automation for sure, and you're going to have to learn AI, but you're also going to have to learn branding and personal branding. And I never thought I would say that. I mean, I'm in my early 30s. I have a vastly and significantly changing life right now, but I would have looked back, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, growing up, I would have thought this would have never been coming. You never knew, right? So it's crazy what's happening at the speed of light, like a freight train, like you said, which makes what you're doing all the more important with influence.vin, right? With building brands, with understanding, the relationships in business, because you're right. I talk about this regularly in freight. We could have automation and systems and AI take away our jobs and do all what we're doing in a couple years if you don't necessarily stay above the fold. I always say that to our team and people that I work with. I'm like, if you don't want to lose your job, be extraordinarily valuable. And
Yeah.
you got to learn how to be ultra creative in that sense in order to be valuable, because you don't know necessarily what's coming for sure. I'm in, an acquisition mode of my life right now, where I'm looking at different opportunities in freight transportation and in other businesses to diversify a little bit, even though I am focused on one or two things and doing it very well, because that's my intention. Not be really good at not be, half good at lots of things, but being really good at one or two things. And mixing that into business initiatives. It's a fascinating conversation. It's unique, and it's going to take us by storm for sure. So it's a little bit of doom and gloom, but I want to keep the show positive and upbeat, and tell us a little bit more about like where in Ontario you're at and what you see in your everyday to-day life, and what your priority rank is in terms of, like you said, wife, children, business, etc. How do you operate?
I'm like, when I meet people, I rarely talk about what I do for a living. I'd rather meet people and learn more about them, or what do you do? Because then I can piece it all together. I've always been the I know a guy. And so I find that I help
Those are some of the
people.
most valuable people.
I think so, because, I had a girl that I met the other day, and she does kitchen, or kitchen and cabinets and renovations and such. And I said, "Oh, do what kind of challenges do you have in your business?" And she said, "Oh, this." And I'm like, "Oh, you need to meet this person, and this person." She's like, "Could you introduce me?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course, no problem." Bing, 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 and away they go. And there's nothing for me there, but I'm like, I don't know, it's karma, planting seeds, whatever. You're putting it into an account, credit, 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 credit. I'm constantly filling that account,
Right. The
filling that
deposits.
bucket, and it inevitably comes back to you. I'm over in Burlington, Ontario right now. Although in the next couple of years, my wife and I, after our son heads down to the States to play baseball, we have no idea where we're going to live, which is a whole other content piece that we may come up with. Like, where the heck should we live? But yeah, for me, it's family, it's faith, it's fitness. I'm a huge health guy. And I'm all about getting out in the sunshine, grounding, sitting by my pond. You can always find me by my pond. You ever come out this way, man, we'll sit and chill by the
I
pond.
love it. I love it.
I like being outside. I hate winter, which is why winter peg is not on my list, my friend.
That's right.
Because I'm just not outside as much, and I love being outside. So I sit outside all day to work as often as I can. Makes me sad when it rains because I got to bring the laptop inside. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of Chris in a nutshell. I like my freedom. I like doing what I want to do. When I talk about opportunities that come back, it's like I'm excited about helping dudes be their real selves and doing what they want to do, because it's never too late. So that is what gets me up in the morning. I'm not gonna lie, freight doesn't get me up in the morning. I'm not like
Doesn't get me
fired
up
up to
either.
go fling freight. I'm excited to sit by my pond and have real conversations with people.
I'm surprised you're not at the pond right now.
I was gonna do it, but it's real windy out today, and I thought there's no way the audio will be able to handle that. But I would have been. I mean, the amount of times I sit there and people are like, "Hey, can I come over and just sit by the pond and we'll talk?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do that."
There's something special, Chris, about water. I hear you. And you know what there's something special about is fire. So your pond, for me, is the fire. So I have a great fireplace out back, and I have a little bowl, and I've split some incredible wood, and I have some great dry. I have about 30 or 40 trees on my property. It's a significant size property. You have a pond, which is very surprising for being in Southern Ontario. I didn't think you would have like a little square that you might have lived on, because the properties are so small typically, but we got so many trees. We got a very deep property, which is great. So I feel the same way. It's crazy that we got in connection with each other, because the commonalities that we share, the fire and the pond, right? Being outside is insane. I do the same. I spend a lot of time outside. I love cutting the grass. I love being outside. I love soaking in the sun. I'm all about the fitness as well, too. I'm doing the RFK Junior 50 and 100 challenge right now, 50 pull-ups and 100 push-ups, aspiring to do that every day, which is really freaking difficult, by the way.
It's tough.
Yeah. And just, grounding and doing herbalism. My wife is a herbalist, and she's studying to do that after she has done her mat leave, which she's on right now when our baby comes in a couple months. So it's crazy, man. I will never hold it against you that you don't want to come to Winterpeg. Heck, I don't even always want to be here in the winter either. But, some of us are born here and we don't necessarily have a choice. I have lived elsewhere. I lived in BC for a few years, and I lived in Australia for a couple years as well, too. But, everything that you're touching on here is wonderful and it's beautiful. And what I feel like we're doing today specifically is we're taking chips off those blocks to create a beautiful structure, right? These connections and these relationships, whether I sling freight with you or you sling freight with me, or we do relational building activities as men, we are building great energy for the world. And you never know who you know, and you never know who I know, because I'm very well connected here and you're very well connected there. And something will come up where you're like, Chris or Steve, I got somebody you got to meet, and it could be life changing. And I believe in that truly, because I believe God puts people in front of people when they exactly need it, which is amazing. So let's continue to connect. Let's continue to take chips off those blocks and sculpt that beautiful piece of artwork that we call life.
Sounds awesome.
I love it, man. Chris, tell us a little bit where your website is, how your business operates and how we can help you grow from a business perspective on the show.
Sure. You can find me at chriserrington.com. On there's a little bit about my story, kind of who I am. You'll see what I do as well. So E2E Solutions is my freight company. So I'm an independent shipping agent working with global carriers, finding solutions for my customer base. And then you'll see influence.vin. So you'll see that there as well. Click on that. If you're a dude who's looking for, or I don't know, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, or any of what I'm saying resonates, you'll find stuff there. And you can find me at E2E Chris on everything: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the Twitter. Those are all brand stinking new for me, which is part of my branding piece. And I'm super excited about it. It's, I'm not about having 1 million followers. I'd rather have 1,000 people who support the heck out of it, or vibe with what I'm talking about. You don't need 1 million followers anymore. Like, it's those are silly. But yeah, you can find me in those places where I am. You can follow along more, consume it how you like to consume it.
Incredible, Chris. It's been wonderful having you on here. We're gonna cap it right there, but this has been great. You had a wonderful Bible verse to start off the show. We talked about being uplifted, about being positive, about being energetic. We mixed a little freight in there. We mixed a little manliness in there, which is awesome. So thanks a lot, man, for sharing, joining us on the show. Continue to work to build up men. Continue to build the kingdom, and go out there and kill it in your life. And we'll see you when we do part 2 with Chris Errington.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks, pal. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you found value in what we shared and that you'll take it with you to positively impact the world around you. If so, we'd love for you to take a moment to rate, review, and share the show, because we're on a mission to grow and reach more hearts. Prayers, gratitude, and love. Until next time.